Oh gosh, okay, finally. You guys don't even understand how long I've been trying to go live and do this audio this morning. All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I decided to go live today on my page instead of going live on my personal Facebook page because from this point on, we're going to do everything on the business page so that more people can become more engaged on the business page. And it's not individualizing just those that are on one or two of my Facebook friends list. So today's topic is one of my favorites. You know, I love to talk about this: gluten, 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 wheat, wheat, wheat. Um, for those of you who I like to call my trend chasers, you know who you are. Everybody wants to be gluten free, and nobody knows why. You've heard me say many, many times before that being gluten free is not for everybody. Well, I want to talk about 5 topics that we're going to hit today. I'm going to cover several things. The first one is, what is gluten? Where did it come from? What is celiac disease? What is gluten intolerance? What is leaky gut? I'm also going to touch on the correlation between gluten and autoimmune disorders, as well as gluten and obesity, and gluten and mental wellness. So those are all of the subjects that we have to cover today. And you all have no clue how many days I've been trying to go live just from this business page, just so that you would get this information. So let's start off with what is gluten. Many of you have heard it. You know it's derived from wheat, but do you actually know what it is? Gluten is a group of proteins better known as prolamines and glutenines. These are starches, they are found in the endosperm of wheat. It can actually be found in grains such as wheat, barley, rye, spelt, anything like that. You can also find it in wheat berries, durum, arum, semolina, farro, gram, all of that stuff. And the list just goes on and on and on. Those of you who are eating oats are naturally gluten-free. However, because oats are processed in the same facility and is most likely utilizing the same equipment as many other grains, cross-contamination is very present. So you want to make sure that if you are eating any type of oat product, it has been processed in a gluten-free by a gluten-free manufacturer. So where did gluten come from? And how did it become so potent in these last few years? Well, those of you who like to read, I'd like for you to go out and get a book called Wheat Belly. What Wheat Belly describes, this was written by William Davis, is in the 1960s how Norman Borlaug changed wheat into its current form, which is a high yield semi-dwarf strain. The new wheat provided a tenfold increase of yield, which meant that it does the same thing that rice is doing right now in foreign countries. The wheat that was created in 1960 was created for a surplus, and it was created to end the global food shortage, and it actually saved billions from starvation. However, with this great accomplishment, the new high yield wheat has actually been implicated in quadrupling the number of celiac patients in the past 40 years. So that is where the gluten comes from, just so we're clear. The new wheat, the wheat that we're currently eating, the wheat that we have been eating for the past 40 years, is a strain of wheat that is not a natural wheat. It is a created GMO processed wheat. So when you ask, oh my God, we've been eating wheat for all of this time, where did the gluten come from? The gluten came because the wheat that our great grandparents ate is not the same wheat that we're eating. Okay, just so clear. Get it, wrap it around. Make sure you understand. This is what gluten is. This is why there is so many people who have gluten intolerances right now. This is why there are so many gluten-based diseases. So gluten, as I stated before, is often associated with wheat and wheat-containing foods that are abundant in our food supply. Based upon the last couple of years, gluten has been getting, some negative attention. Rightfully so, for those of you who have a gluten intolerance, those of you who suffer from celiac disease, those of you who have autoimmune issues, and those of you who are suffering with mental illness. Now, in 2017, a study of over 1,000 participants without celiac disease found no association between long-term dietary gluten consumption and heart disease risk or any other disease associated with what is now known as gluten. Gluten has some very healthy benefits. It can act as a prebiotic, feeding the good bacteria in our body. These bacteria are actually normally found in a healthy human gut. So a lot of us are starting out on the wrong foot. Our gut isn't healthy already. When gluten becomes the problem, it's because your body is unable to absorb it. And what it's doing is it is actually causing your body to turn on itself, and it's sensing it as a toxin. And it lowers your immune system, your immune cells, and they attack it. People who don't even know that they are gluten intolerant suffer from fatigue, bloating. You might have constipation and diarrhea, unexplained weight loss, intestinal damage, just all of those things. But guess what? By removing gluten from your diet, you can actually overcome all of that. So just so we're clear, there are very different forms. Other conditions that would require the elimination of gluten. Non-celiac based gluten sensitivity. That's just for those of you who are gluten intolerant but still keep ringing negative as celiac, as having a celiac disorder. People who are naturally allergic to wheat. If you are allergic to wheat, you may be diagnosed with the immune globin E blood test and some of the food challenges tests. A lot of people who have wheat allergy tend to grow out of it as they grow older. So the younger you detect it, the more easier it is for you to work with the diet. People who have dermatitis herpetiformis, which is a skin rash that results from eating gluten. A lot of you don't even realize that you're blistering, you're itching, your red skin, all of that stuff is coming from the gluten that is in your diet. That is if you are gluten sensitive, okay? I'm going to touch on what a gluten-free diet is later on. I'll go back to that and talk to you about the things that you can add in your diet to sort of offset the gluten or to replace it. All right, so now we talked about what is gluten. We talked about where it came from. Now we're going to move on to what is celiac disease. Now, celiac disease is an autoimmune disease, which means that people can't eat gluten because it will damage their small intestines. Let me see how I can put this. Gluten in your system, if you have celiac disease, it is a predisposed disorder, and eating gluten or having a diet that has gluten in it can be extremely dangerous and sometimes deadly for you. There are a few other autoimmune disorders, and you have to forgive me because you guys know I'm really big on notes. Celiac disease, as I stated, is an autoimmune disorder. You guys don't even know that you have celiac disease, and people who with one autoimmune disorder tend to get other autoimmune disorders. So when I say it all starts with food, it really does start with food. Those of you who have celiac disease, you are actually at risk for thyroid diseases, type 1 diabetes, Addison's disease, arthritis, autoimmune hepatitis, Hashimoto's thyroid disorder, idiopathic dilated cardiomyopathy, Berger's disease, multiple sclerosis, Jorgen's syndrome, and as I said, type 1 diabetes mellitus. These are all autoimmune disorders that can come from gluten being in your diet. I want to sort of break these down a little bit, but I don't want to really scare anybody when I start talking about this. Addison's disease is a disorder of the adrenal glands, causing them to produce insufficient amount of cortisol and aldosterone. Now, Addison's disease occurs across all age groups, sexes, and can be life-threatening. But between 5 and 10% of individuals with Addison's disease also suffer from celiac disease and vice versa. Treatment is generally hormone replacement therapy or removing gluten from your diet. Down syndrome. And by the way, you guys, I'm literally just touching on a few of these autoimmune disorders. Between 5 and 16% of people with Down syndrome also have celiac disease. Individuals with DS should be tested for celiac disease between the ages of 2 and 3. Did you know, and I've said this many times before, you've heard me talk about what celiac disease does, but you've also heard me talk about mental illness and mental wellness, mental development for people who are suffering from autism, people who are suffering from Down syndrome, people who have developmental issues, brain developmental issues. It's sometimes best to remove them or put them on a gluten-free diet. So that is celiac disease, and those are some of the other autoimmune disorders that we can actually develop from gluten as well. And I apologize about that. My phone is ringing off the hook this morning. All right, so toxins that leak in from the bowel lumen into your bloodstream. That is what leaky gut syndrome is. Leaky gut syndrome is when the toxins that are normally processed and pushed through your bowel and out as waste, when it leaks into your bloodstream. Now, leaky gut syndrome can be caused by a gluten intolerance. It can also be aggravated by gluten as well. So we have talked about celiac, leaky gut, autoimmune. So this is what I want to this is where I really want to lay my focus, because I'm going to wrap this up really quickly and really soon, because my phone is ringing and I have quite a few clients sort of waiting on me this morning. All right. A wide range of psychological problems can arise from those with untreated celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Initially, there may be a misdiagnosis of quite a few psychiatric illnesses due to some of the neurological and psychiatrical symptoms that are seen in these untreated diseases. Now, once diagnosed, there may be difficult adjusting to the new chronic disease or even adhering to a gluten-free diet. Those of you who think that you're going through depression, anxiety, you have no clue that you may actually be just having dealing with celiac disease or a gluten intolerance. So I'm going to go over a few things that you may be feeling, and then I want you to maybe think about going on a gluten-free diet. Finding little or no pleasure in life, feeling worthless or extremely guilty, crying for a lot or no particular reason. Withdrawing from other people, experiencing severe anxiety, panic, or fear, having a big mood swing, experiencing a change in eating or sleeping patterns, having low energy, losing interest in hobbies and activities, having too much energy, having trouble concentrating, feeling easily irritated or anger, experience racing thoughts or agitation, hearing voices or seeing images that other people don't experience, believing that there is someone plotting against you, wanting to harm yourself or others. Bet you did not know. I bet you didn't know that you are not alone. And although, yes, you need a medical evaluation, you also need to be checked for celiac disease or for a gluten intolerance. So if your kids are feeling this kind of way, if you are noticing changes in your moods, changes to your children's moods, changes to just anything slightly, let's try, before we go on all of these different medications, let's just try removing gluten and wheat from our diet. I'd also say go along with dairy as well. There are two books I'd like for you guys to go out and get. The first one, as I stated, is Wheat Belly. That one is written by William Davis. The other one is a book by Dr. Brawley, and that's Brally, Dangerous Grains. That just talks about the correlation between gluten and autoimmune diseases. There is so much more that I can go over with you guys, but I just wanted to give you this little bit of information today, just to tell you where the gluten came from, how it's affecting you, whether or not you should be on a gluten-free diet. And if you do decide to be on a gluten-free diet, hit me up. Always log on www.cammyred.com. Follow me on Facebook at Cammy Red & Co. or look me up, Chef Cammy Red, on Instagram. I'm always posting meal plans. There's always a diet. There are always gluten-free recipes for you to follow as well. I've got to get out of here because my phone is going off. I want to wish you all a happy Friday. I'm going to try to do these more on Wednesdays for Wellness Wednesdays, but don't forget to log in tonight for Fierce Females to Follow. My Be a Lady podcast is going live again from here. So I want to wish you all a great, great day, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Right now, switch your family to T-Mobile and get 4 lines for $25 a line with AutoPay and 5G access included on America's largest 5G network. So don't wait. Get unlimited and nationwide 5G access for the whole family for just $25 a line. Visit a T-Mobile store or T-Mobile.com today.
Plus taxes and fees. Customers may notice lower speeds and further reduction if using over 50 gigs a month due to data prioritization. Video at 480p. Unlimited while on our network. Qualifying credit and 4+ lines required. Capable device required for 5G. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain features. See T-Mobile.com.
Each of us has a purpose. We are destined to do something meaningful. Not only to support our loved ones, but to positively impact our communities throughout the country. What do you think a private Christian education looks like? Grand Canyon University graduates 25,000 students yearly and offers more than 225 high-quality programs across 9 colleges. Find your purpose at GCU. Visit gcu.edu.